Hi, over here.
Hi.
Hi. I wanted to ask, you've been quite a prominent blogger for a little while, and you've done your book now, but where is all of this headed? What's next on your agenda?
I'm glad you asked. Um, no, I mean, I think, and it's hard to say this without sounding, you know, not sounding like a happy little blogger, but, from the beginning, I wanted to create something important. Nobody had ever done it, and I didn't really think that would work, but, I wanted to, really wanted to push every opportunity that I got to really make something out of it, because I thought I had a unique point of view. The fact that I could do men's and women's at a very high level, there's not a lot of people that can do that. And so I think I always thought of it as potential of kind of a brand, not a brand of a product necessarily that you sell, but a brand of a way of thinking. And I'm very happy now that I hear people sometimes say, oh, that's such a sartorialist look, or, she's such a sartorialist, or he's such a sartorialist, because it means literally something different. It could mean a guy that's really well tailored. It could mean a girl that does vintage in a really cool way. It could be a really sexy French girl. It could be whatever. There's a vagueness to it, and as opposed to being exclusive, so much about luxury and fashion is about being exclusive this and exclusive that, where I think the brand, the concept of the sartorialist is much more inclusive. It involves a lot of people and a lot of different kinds of beauty and a lot of different kinds of ages and races and nationalities and cultures. So I think it's much more inclusive. So I'm very happy I built a brand, and I'm building a brand that's based on those kind of values about inclusion as opposed to exclusion. And so that actually sets the stage for a lot of different things. In the beginning of May, almost a month ago now, we filmed a short pilot for a television show that we might do a television show if it gets picked up. And it's with it's with the production company of a very big Hollywood director and some very well-known people that did filming for a big movie that you all know if you're into fashion. And the show's not about me, but it's a real next step of the blog in the sense that it's some of the people that I shoot for the blog. There were some people when we were filming that day that we stopped on the street and I talked to them, people I'd never met before, and kind of asked them what they were doing, and I shot them. And the guy that cuts my hair, who does this total vintage lifestyle, he's got a vintage haircut and wears his grandpa's clothes and vintage tattoos and, really goes head to toe vintage. He really is totally immersed in that lifestyle. So I talked to him, about what's the romance of that? Why do you so totally let yourself fall into that kind of lifestyle? And really just let him explain that, the romance that he sees in it. And I talked to a designer, Richard Chai, about, like I said, I used to have a showroom where I worked with young designers, and I specifically did not ask him what movie stars he dresses, because I personally don't care. But I did ask him, as a young designer, sometimes you can draw up a great design, but because of the money you have and the craftsmen or lack of craftsmen you have around you, you can make it the greatest dress, but if you can't technically make the pattern, and if you can't have someone literally sew the pattern in a way that's beautiful to realize that, because the designers don't sew their own clothes, how do you do that? How do you go from this great drawing, if you draw, to an actual piece? And so I asked him, what were some of the pieces in this collection that were really difficult to make? Because of maybe a seam, he showed me a jacket. It was a women's jacket, and the seam he took out the side seam, and he had the seam that ran from here across here. And it was very subtle, and it was a dark fabric, so a lot of people wouldn't even be able to see the seam unless they looked, but it totally gave this beautiful shape to the jacket. And it was something that took him a long time to perfect, to get that seam to go from here to the back without rippling, because when you're on the bias like that, if it gets stretched when you're sewing, it can ripple and stuff. So if you know what you're looking at, you know how difficult it was to do that. But the consumer might not even know. All they know is when that girl puts that jacket on, she goes, oh my God, look at that, I look great. And so that's what I want the show to be about. It's the craft of this thing, whether it's being a cook, whether it's being fashion, whether it's someone that's all about their lifestyle. It's not about me, it's about these people I interview with, and hopefully we film it in a beautiful way. So it's the fashion show that I've always wanted to watch, as someone who actually loves that kind of thing and about the craft and all. You know, and there's some other things, you know, whether I do like a little accessories collection or, you know, some more things, more different things. But like the thing that's great with the TV show is, opposed to taking me away from the blog, I know I'm getting long on this, sorry. As opposed to taking me away from the blog, it actually takes me closer because, you know, if we do a show and it's 60 minutes and it goes on the TV, you know, a day later or 2 days later, you cut that 60-minute show into 10 6-minute sections, and that whole show can live on the internet in little sections where people can come back and see it all the time. So as opposed to going away from the blog, it's actually something that's going to go back and feed the blog with even more interesting and diverse content, I hope.
I have a doubt. You are launching this or not?
Well, we filmed the pilot. There's two ways of doing a show.
It's okay, I mean...
No. There's two ways of doing a show. Either a TV channel comes to you and says, we want you to do a show,
okay,
and then they have to go find the production company, or a production company comes to you and says, we want to do a show, and then they have to sell it to the TV channel. So this was a production company. So they came to me and said, we think we can sell a show with you. Well, they said, are you interested? And I said, I'm only interested if it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's a really well-respected director and really well-respected company. And that's the one thing I'm very proud of. If this show never works, I'm very proud that they let me do it exactly the way I wanted to do it. At no point did they say, well, we should get one star on here, or we should get one it girl, or we should get... They totally said, here's your rope. You can go hang yourself. So either if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'm proud of what I did.
Súper resumiendo, preguntan cuál es el siguiente objetivo, para Scott Schuman. El siguiente objetivo pues, es un